What is up, New Beginnings Church? Happy Tuesday morning to you, and welcome to our devotional series. If you missed it yesterday, we just kicked off a brand new series called Lessons from Peter, and we are diving into the book of 1 Peter. And so I encourage you, pause, go join me, read chapter 1. And again, all I'm doing is just kind of reading, and as I see something that catches my attention, stirs my curiosity, I'm just kind of kicking it around and sharing it with you. And so 1 Peter, is really a message sent to the regional church. It was a church that was under persecution. You're going to see it here in this verses 6 and 7 that I'm about to read. Under unbelievable persecution, I think both culturally at times, from Jews, from Gentiles, from government and politics. Funny enough, it was the Romans that used to actually think of Christians as like atheists. I find it fascinating because they did not believe in all the pantheon of Roman and Greek gods. And so because of that, they were like, oh, you're atheist. You don't believe in God. We're like, no, we do. We believe in the one true God. And so in the midst of their persecution and suffering, 1 Peter is written. And this verse really kind of shows you this. He had just gotten through talking about how great our salvation is. And then in verse 6, he goes, in all this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while you may have had to suffer grief in all kinds of trials. These have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith, of greater worth than gold, which perishes even though refined by fire. What he's saying is this. He's saying, hey, I need you to know that your salvation is so great and so amazing, but I need you to hang in there for just a little while longer. He goes, listen to this. When he talks about your grief and your suffering and your trial, he goes, it's though now for a little while. I think Peter had a unique perspective on time. He's the one that also quotes from the book of Psalms and talks about how, to the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years and 1,000 years is like unto a day. Like our concept of time. If you ever want to really mess with your brain, go watch a movie like Interstellar. Right? It's one of those movies that actually deals with the idea that time is relative, meaning time is not at a constant throughout the universe. In certain parts of the universe, it's moving rapidly based on speed and mass, and other places it's moving incredibly slowly. And so Peter's even playing on this idea hey, you just got to recognize, I know you're suffering. But when you see what I've seen, because Peter had visions of heaven, he goes, when you see what I see, and you're exposed to maybe the big picture of what's really going on here, I know that in this moment, you feel like it's suffering and it's grief, and I know that it is. But in the big picture of things, it is just for a brief moment in time. It is so small compared to the weight of glory, compared to the weight of eternity. And so he's just hang in there. I know that it seems bad. And he goes, and the second thing that I want you to consider is this, is that when your faith is going through a trial, it's the equivalent of gold being refined and purified. I don't know about you, but let me just confess here. When things are going good in my life, I'm not necessarily growing a lot. When everything's just blessed and coming my way, I'm usually just in harvest mode, taking it all in, celebrating and rejoicing. But I don't think that's in the place where my faith is being stretched or my faith is growing or expanding. It's also a place where I'm not having to deal with maybe some of my personal issues and sin and my pride and ego and selfishness, all those things that I don't really want to deal with. It's actually in the midst of my trial. My trial actually reveals to me. Again, we're in this series right now at church called Look at the Birds. We're talking about worry, right? And what's funny is that worry, the emotion of worry, is actually the thing that reveals to me that my faith is very weak. And so it's in the midst of my trial that I'm being forced now to say, okay, no. I'm not going to put my faith in an uncertain outcome that I can't control. I'm going to put my faith in my Father who has the ability to control all outcomes. And so for you today, if you find yourself in a trial, if I could give you just two little bits of encouragement from the lesson of Peter. Number one is this. As much as it is a big deal to you and I right now in the big scheme of things, I think we're going to get to heaven one day, pull back the covers on this whole thing and be like, wow, I can't believe I was so worked up about that. That really wasn't a big deal. And then the second thing I'd like to encourage you to do is that whenever you find yourself in a trial, lean in deeper and say, God, what are you doing in me? What are you changing? What are you molding? What are you making? What are you teaching me in this moment? And if you do so, I think you will weather that storm and come out again like pure gold. Can I get an amen to that? Church, I love you so much. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow.